Good morning/afternoon, everyone. Disrespect is a challenge many of us face at some point, whether it's in our personal relationships, at work, or even in society at large. It can come unexpectedly, and when it does, it often stirs strong emotions within us. But how do we handle it without letting it define us or ruin our peace? When we encounter disrespect, it's crucial to pause and consider where it's coming from. Often our first instinct is to react, maybe with frustration or anger. However, before responding, it's helpful to ask ourselves, what is the origin of this disrespect? Is it something personal, or could it be a projection of someone else's struggles? People express disrespect for various reasons. Sometimes it's rooted in their own insecurities or feelings of inadequacy. They may lash out to deflect attention from their own perceived weaknesses. Other times, it may stem from a lack of awareness or emotional maturity. They might not even realize their actions are disrespectful. Alternatively, the disrespect could be a result of poor communication, a misunderstanding, or differing cultural or personal values. When we take the time to understand the source, we can better assess whether the disrespect is intentional or simply a reflection of someone else's internal turmoil. By understanding the source of the disrespect, we gain clarity on how to respond in a way that reflects our values, rather than simply reacting out of hurt or anger. It also helps us avoid misinterpreting the situation. Not all disrespect is meant to harm. Sometimes it's simply an unintentional action that can be addressed with a calm and constructive conversation. Taking a step back and examining the deeper reasons behind the behavior allows us to approach the situation with more empathy and wisdom, choosing a response that is thoughtful and strategic rather than emotionally driven. When faced with disrespect, one of the most powerful things we can do is to stay true to our values. In challenging moments, it's easy to become swept up in the emotions of the situation, especially when we feel wronged. However, our values are the foundation of who we are, and they provide a steady compass in moments of uncertainty or conflict. By grounding ourselves in what we believe and what we stand for, we ensure that our actions are deliberate and reflective of our true selves, not simply a reaction to the disrespect we are facing. Our values are the beliefs, principles, and standards that guide our behavior and decisions. They reflect what we consider important in life: honesty, integrity, respect, compassion, and so on. When we face disrespect, it's essential to remember that reacting with anger or bitterness often does not align with our deeper values. For instance, if you value respect, responding with more disrespect only perpetuates negativity. Staying true to your values means responding thoughtfully and with dignity, even in the face of challenging behavior. In practice, this may mean choosing to remain calm when someone disrespects you, as opposed to engaging in an argument. It may involve setting clear boundaries, speaking with assertiveness, or even walking away from a situation that no longer serves you. Every choice you make in response to disrespect is an opportunity to reinforce your commitment to your values, showing that you are the bigger person and that you will not allow the actions of others to alter who you are. Staying true to your values also means not compromising your integrity in the moment. If your values include fairness, for example, you may take a moment to calmly explain how the other person's actions affected you, providing them with the opportunity to reflect on their behavior. If you value kindness, you may choose to approach the person with empathy, assuming the best intentions and offering a chance to improve the situation. When we stay true to our values, we remain rooted in who we are, even when faced with external challenges. This not only helps us maintain our own peace, but also encourages others to respect us as we model the very principles we expect from those around us. When confronted with disrespect, one of the most empowering approaches is to not take it personally. It's easy to internalize hurtful words or actions, especially when they seem directed at us, but doing so often distorts our perspective. Disrespect in many cases reflects more about the other person than it does about us. People express disrespect for reasons that are frequently unrelated to our actions or worth. It might be because of their own frustrations, insecurities, or unmet needs. When we take their behavior personally, we allow their negative energy to influence our own sense of self, which can lead to unnecessary distress. It's important to understand that when someone is being disrespectful, it often comes from a place of pain, confusion, or a lack of emotional regulation. This doesn't excuse their behavior, but it can help us put things into perspective. If we view their actions through the lens of their struggles, whether emotional, social, or professional, we can begin to detach ourselves from the situation. Their words or behavior may have nothing to do with our actions, but are more about their inability to cope or communicate effectively. Moreover, by choosing not to take disrespect personally, we protect our emotional well-being. When we react to disrespect as though it's an attack on our identity, we allow the other person's issues to dictate our emotions. However, if we acknowledge that their behavior is a reflection of them and not us, we retain control over how we respond. We are able to separate their actions from our own self-worth, recognizing that their disrespect doesn't define us. In this way, not taking things personally creates the space for us to respond in a calm, measured way, rather than react in a way that exacerbates the situation. It allows us to maintain our peace and avoid escalating the disrespect further. Additionally, it gives us the clarity to assess whether the situation is worth addressing or if it's better to simply walk away, knowing that their actions are a reflection of them, not an indication of our value or character. Self-regulation is an essential tool when it comes to handling disrespect, and it is one of the most powerful ways to maintain control over your response to difficult situations. It's about managing your emotions and behaviors in a way that is consistent with your values, rather than reacting impulsively or emotionally to what's happening around you. In the face of disrespect, it's tempting to react with anger, frustration, or even defensiveness. But responding out of emotion often leads to regret and further conflict, and it rarely produces the desired outcome. When we regulate ourselves, we choose to take a step back before responding. Instead of reacting immediately, we give ourselves the space to think clearly and respond in a way that aligns with our true intentions. Self-regulation allows us to pause, breathe, and assess the situation before we let our emotions take the wheel. This pause is vital because it gives us the opportunity to process the disrespect without letting it trigger an automatic, knee-jerk reaction. A crucial aspect of self-regulation is the ability to manage our emotional state. If we allow ourselves to be swept away by anger or frustration, we may say things we don't mean or make decisions we'll later regret. On the other hand, when we regulate our emotions, we create a sense of emotional distance from the situation, which enables us to respond more thoughtfully. It doesn't mean suppressing emotions, rather it means acknowledging them and deciding how to express them in a way that reflects our best selves. Additionally, self-regulation helps us stay aligned with our long-term goals and values, rather than getting caught up in the heat of the moment. When we respond impulsively, we risk losing sight of the bigger picture and making decisions that are driven by short-term emotions. But when we regulate ourselves, we are guided by our long-term vision and our desire to preserve our integrity and peace. The best advice I can give is to regulate within yourself to make sure that you stay in line with character and a carrier to what you say you're going to do. This emotional maturity allows us to navigate even the most difficult situations with grace, dignity, and composure. One of the greatest benefits of self-regulation is the sense of empowerment it gives us. Instead of feeling like a victim of external circumstances, we recognize that we have the ability to control how we react. The disrespect may be out of our control, but our response is entirely within our hands. This control over ourselves can be incredibly empowering and reinforces our resilience in the face of adversity. It helps us build confidence in our ability to handle challenging situations, knowing that we can remain calm, collected, and in charge of our emotions, no matter what is happening around us. Empathy is a powerful tool when dealing with disrespect, as it enables us to see the situation from the other person's perspective, rather than just focusing on how their actions affect us. It's easy to get caught up in our own feelings of being wronged, but by practicing empathy, we can move beyond our immediate emotional response and try to understand the underlying reasons for the other person's behavior. This doesn't mean excusing disrespectful behavior, but it does allow us to respond with greater compassion and clarity. When we empathize with someone, we're acknowledging that their actions may be driven by deeper, often hidden emotions or experiences. For instance, the person being disrespectful might be acting out due to stress, personal struggles, or unresolved issues that have nothing to do with us. They may not even realize how their actions are affecting us. Instead of reacting from a place of anger or frustration, empathy allows us to pause and consider what might be driving their behavior. Are they frustrated? Are they feeling insecure? Are they in a situation that's causing them emotional turmoil? Recognizing that their actions may not be personal helps us avoid taking their disrespect as an attack on our worth. Okay. Empathy also gives us the opportunity to respond in a way that opens a path for healing or resolution. By understanding where someone is coming from, we can tailor our response in a way that addresses both our needs and theirs. For example, if someone disrespects us because they're feeling overwhelmed, we can approach them with kindness, acknowledging their stress while calmly expressing how their behavior impacted us. This approach can shift the dynamic from conflict to connection, allowing for more meaningful communication. Practicing empathy doesn't mean we condone disrespect. It simply allows us to see the person behind the actions. It allows us to move beyond the behavior itself and consider the individual's state of mind. By doing so, we reduce the likelihood of escalating the situation and increase the chances of finding common ground. It also helps us maintain our own emotional balance. Instead of letting the disrespect pull us into an emotional spiral, empathy allows us to take a step back, not only for our own peace of mind, but also to engage with the person in a more productive way. Furthermore, empathy promotes understanding in relationships, whether personal or professional. It strengthens communication and fosters an environment where people feel heard and respected. When we approach disrespect with empathy, we send a message that we are not simply looking to defend ourselves, but that we are also willing to understand the challenges or struggles others may be facing. It helps diffuse tension and opens up opportunities for growth, both in the relationship and within ourselves. By practicing empathy, we not only handle disrespect better, but also contribute to building a more compassionate and understanding world. Setting boundaries is one of the most effective ways to handle disrespect, as it clearly defines what is acceptable and what is not in our interactions with others. Boundaries are essential for protecting our emotional well-being, ensuring that we maintain a sense of respect and dignity in our relationships. When we allow others to cross our boundaries without consequence, we send the message that disrespectful behavior is acceptable, which can lead to more negative interactions and feelings of resentment. Establishing boundaries begins with knowing what we need to feel respected and valued. This requires self-awareness, understanding what makes us uncomfortable, what triggers us, and what we consider unacceptable behavior. These personal guidelines help us define how we expect to be treated and enable us to communicate our needs clearly to others. Without these boundaries, we risk becoming passive in situations where our feelings are being disregarded, which can erode our sense of self-worth over time. When faced with disrespect, it's important to assertively communicate our boundaries. This isn't about being aggressive or confrontational, but rather about calmly and firmly stating what behavior is unacceptable. For example, if someone interrupts us during a conversation or speaks to us in a condescending tone, we can let them know that we expect to be treated with respect and that their actions are not acceptable. By expressing our boundaries, we are not only standing up for ourselves, but we are also teaching others how to engage with us in a way that aligns with our values. Setting boundaries can be challenging, especially if we fear that others will be upset or retaliate. However, it's crucial to recognize that boundaries are not about controlling others. They are about taking control of our own lives and protecting our peace. When we fail to set boundaries, we allow others to dictate our emotional state, which can lead to unnecessary stress and frustration. Boundaries empower us to preserve our emotional health and avoid situations where disrespect could take a toll on our well-being. It's also important to understand that boundaries must be consistent. If we allow someone to cross a boundary once and don't address it, they may believe that it's acceptable behavior. To be effective, boundaries need to be communicated clearly and upheld, even if it feels uncomfortable at first. It's not always easy, especially in personal relationships or work environments, but being firm about our limits ensures that we are respected and that others know the consequences of crossing those lines. In some cases, setting boundaries may involve distancing ourselves from people who continuously disrespect us. This might mean limiting contact with toxic individuals or deciding not to engage in certain conversations or environments that encourage negative behavior. While this can be difficult, especially if the person involved is someone we care about, maintaining our emotional health should always be a priority. By setting boundaries, we create a space for healthier, more respectful interactions that honor our needs and protect our peace. Choosing your battles is a critical aspect of handling disrespect effectively, as it allows us to conserve our energy and emotional resources for the situations that truly matter. Not every instance of disrespect requires a response or confrontation, and sometimes stepping back and evaluating the situation can reveal that engaging may not be worth the emotional toll. It's easy to feel the need to react to every slight or offense, but doing so can lead to unnecessary conflict and burnout, especially when the issue at hand is trivial or unlikely to result in a productive outcome. One of the first steps in choosing our battles is to assess the impact of the disrespect. Is it something that directly affects our well-being, values, or goals, or is it a minor offense that can be overlooked? If the disrespect is something that challenges our core principles or undermines our sense of self-worth, it may be worth addressing. However, if the issue is small or irrelevant to our long-term happiness or success, it might be better to let it go. By weighing the importance of the situation, we can determine whether it's worth our time and emotional energy. Another important consideration is whether the person who disrespects us is open to change or if they are simply being disrespectful out of habit or ignorance. If someone regularly disrespects us and shows no willingness to listen or improve their behavior, it may be a sign that addressing the issue is futile. In such cases, engaging in a confrontation may lead to more frustration and may not lead to any meaningful change. On the other hand, if the person is open to feedback and growth, it might be worth having a conversation to help them understand how their actions affect us. Choosing our battles also involves recognizing that not every disrespect needs to be confronted immediately. Sometimes it's more strategic to take a step back, allow emotions to settle, and revisit the situation when we are calm and collected. Reacting impulsively in the heat of the moment can escalate the situation and make it harder to resolve. By giving ourselves time to think and gain perspective, we ensure that we're responding thoughtfully and not just reacting emotionally. Additionally, we need to consider the context and the potential consequences of addressing the disrespect. Will confronting the person lead to a resolution, or will it create more conflict and division? In some cases, letting go of a situation can actually be a form of strength, as it shows that we are not willing to be dragged into unnecessary drama. In other cases, confronting the disrespect head-on may be the best way to set clear boundaries and make our expectations known. Ultimately, choosing your battles is about preserving your peace and energy for the situations that matter most. It's about being strategic with how we respond to disrespect, ensuring that we are addressing the issues that have a meaningful impact on our lives while not getting bogged down by petty or unimportant conflicts. By being selective in our responses, we can maintain our emotional well-being and approach life's challenges with a clear sense of purpose. Using constructive feedback is an essential tool when dealing with disrespect, as it offers an opportunity for growth and improvement, both for ourselves and the other person involved. Rather than responding with anger or withdrawing completely, providing constructive feedback allows us to address the issue in a way that fosters understanding and potentially resolves the situation in a positive manner. The key to offering constructive feedback is to ensure it is done thoughtfully and respectfully, with the goal of creating a constructive dialogue rather than escalating conflict. When we choose to use constructive feedback, we are essentially offering the other person an opportunity to see how their actions or words have affected us. This is important because often people who are disrespectful may not be fully aware of the impact their behavior is having on others. They might not understand how their tone, words, or actions are perceived. By providing clear and respectful feedback, we help them see the situation from our perspective, which can open the door to better communication and understanding. The way we deliver feedback is crucial. It's important to approach the situation calmly and with a sense of empathy. When offering constructive feedback, it's more effective to focus on the behavior or action rather than labeling the person. For example, instead of saying, "You are rude," it's better to say, "I felt disrespected when you interrupted me during the meeting." This approach focuses on the specific behavior that needs addressing rather than attacking the person's character, which can help prevent the other person from becoming defensive and shut down the conversation. Additionally, constructive feedback should be specific, clear, and actionable. General comments like, "You always treat me badly," can leave the person feeling confused or unsure of how to improve. Instead, specific feedback, such as, "When you speak to me in that tone, I feel dismissed," provides a concrete example that the person can reflect on and adjust. Offering actionable suggestions for how the person can improve is also helpful. For instance, "In the future, I would appreciate it if you could let me finish my thoughts before responding," gives the other person a clear idea of how they can change their behavior moving forward. While constructive feedback is a way to address disrespect, it's also an opportunity to demonstrate our commitment to maintaining healthy relationships. It shows that we are not simply reacting emotionally, but that we care enough to address the issue directly and respectfully. By providing feedback, we offer the chance for mutual understanding and the possibility of resolving any misunderstandings that might have contributed to the disrespect in the first place. It can transform a negative situation into a learning experience for both parties. However, it's also important to recognize when constructive feedback may not be received well, especially if the other person is not open to hearing it. In some cases, individuals may not be willing to change or may be too entrenched in their behavior to see the issue from a different perspective. In such instances, it's important to consider other options, such as setting firm boundaries or distancing ourselves from the person if the disrespect continues. But even then, offering feedback when possible can help us stay true to our values, showing that we approach the situation with the intention to resolve it constructively rather than retaliate. Maintaining a bigger perspective when faced with disrespect is a crucial strategy for handling difficult situations with composure and wisdom. In moments of conflict or when we feel disrespected, it's easy to become caught up in the emotions of the moment and to focus solely on the immediate offense. However, stepping back and seeing the situation within a larger context can help us avoid overreacting and guide us toward responses that align with our long-term goals and values. A bigger perspective means understanding that disrespect is often just a small part of a much larger picture. The behavior of others may be driven by a range of factors that have little to do with us personally. For example, someone may lash out due to their own stress, insecurities, or frustration with a situation in their life. Recognizing that their actions are not necessarily an accurate reflection of who we are or our worth helps us keep the moment in context, preventing us from internalizing their behavior. This awareness allows us to detach emotionally from the situation and respond from a place of clarity rather than reacting impulsively to the insult. By maintaining a bigger perspective, we can also avoid the trap of letting one instance of disrespect define our entire relationship with someone or skew our view of them. People are complex, and a single moment of poor behavior doesn't necessarily represent the full extent of their character. It's important to recognize that we all have bad days, make mistakes, and sometimes act in ways that are out of alignment with our best selves. Keeping this in mind prevents us from making snap judgments or writing people off entirely based on one negative interaction. In addition, maintaining a bigger perspective helps us remember that life is full of challenges and not every situation requires our immediate attention or reaction. Sometimes the best response to disrespect is simply letting it pass without giving it undue energy. In the grand scheme of our lives, many of the moments when we feel disrespected are fleeting and won't matter in the long run. Choosing to let go of minor offenses rather than dwelling on them saves us emotional energy and keeps us focused on the things that truly matter. This perspective allows us to prioritize our emotional well-being and prevents us from getting bogged down by things that are inconsequential in the larger scope of our lives. Moreover, maintaining a bigger perspective involves considering the broader impact of our responses. How we handle disrespect not only affects our own peace of mind, but can also influence the dynamics of the relationship or environment we are in. By responding with patience and wisdom, rather than reacting with frustration or anger, we set an example for others and create a more positive atmosphere. Taking a step back allows us to assess the situation more objectively, making it easier to choose responses that align with our long-term values and contribute to healthier interactions. Finally, maintaining a bigger perspective helps us remember the bigger picture of our own life goals. When we are focused on what truly matters to us, whether it's our personal growth, career goals, or relationships, we can see that many of the disrespectful moments we encounter are distractions that don't deserve to derail our focus. By keeping our attention on our larger ambitions and the path we are on, we are less likely to let the negativity of others sway us from our journey. This broader outlook empowers us to stay grounded, resilient, and unwavering in the face of challenges, including disrespect. In conclusion, handling disrespect with grace and resilience is a reflection of our ability to stay grounded in our values and to respond thoughtfully rather than reacting impulsively. By understanding the source of disrespect, staying true to ourselves, not taking it personally, and exercising self-regulation, we maintain control over our emotional responses and preserve our peace of mind. Practicing empathy and setting clear boundaries help us navigate difficult interactions with understanding and assertiveness, while choosing our battles wisely ensures that we conserve our energy for what truly matters. Offering constructive feedback and maintaining a bigger perspective allow us to address the situation with wisdom and empathy, turning potential conflict into an opportunity for growth and positive change. Ultimately, by choosing to respond with integrity, we not only protect ourselves from the harmful effects of disrespect, but we also contribute to creating a more respectful and compassionate environment for everyone involved.